Over the years, I've used a lot of different security plugins for WordPress. But recently, I've been trying a different plugin that seems to address most of the security issues that I have with WordPress installations. Don't get me wrong, WordPress is actually quite secure, and if you keep WordPress and your plugins up to date, there's a good chance you're not going to have a problem. But it's always good to add extra layers of security to cause hackers more and more problems, because hackers are a determined bunch, and if they want to get into your site, then they will work hard to try and do so. So what I suggest you do is have certain security plugins on your site. Now, I have a couple on here that you can see. One is called WP Copy Protect, and that is simply to stop people from copying text on my site and then pasting it into their own site. It's supposed to help cut down on theft of your content. Again, a determined hacker could get in, find the source code of your page and copy the text from the source code, although it's going to have lots of formatting in it, and it's a lot more effort for someone who just wants to steal your content to populate their own site with content. I've got another one here, Stop Spammers, and the plugin that I'm going to show you now actually runs alongside this one. I've run both of them together on a few sites now and haven't had any problems. And Stop Spammers is great because it helps cut down on comment spam and other types of threats on your site. So let's go and install this new plugin. So on the plugins page, we go to Add New. And then in the search box, I'm going to type in All-in-One Security. There we have it already. And search for that plugin. And it's the first one that comes up on my list here, All-in-One WP Security and Firewall. So I'm going to install it. You can see it's 426 reviews, 300,000 plus active installs, and the reviews are, well, it looks like 5 stars. So it's always worth checking out the ratings, but this one is one of the more popular. Okay, so we've now installed that and activated the plugin. And when you activate it, you'll find that you have a new item in your menu called WP Security. And we're going to click on the dashboard of the WP Security, and we're going to go through the main things that I change on my websites. The first thing you'll notice is we've got this strength meter, security strength meter. If I scroll down a little bit, you see that there are 470 points that you can actually achieve by implementing the various security measures. And at the moment, my site only has 50 of them. So there's a long way to go to try and secure my site. And this is the security breakdown. So I've got a different username, admin username than the default one. File permissions, I need to have a look at that, but that's mostly okay. A database prefix, so I'm not using the WP underscore, but this plugin will actually change that for you if you are. And I've changed the display name. So those are the security measures I've got in on my site at the moment from the installation. At the top of this screen, you'll see 4 tabs: dashboard, system info, locked IP addresses, and then this one. We're going to not look at those because there's nothing in there that we want to change. If you want to, after it's been running for a while, you can go and have a look at locked IP addresses to see who's trying to break into your website. But let's just keep scrolling down a little bit. Okay, critical feature status. This is where we're going to start doing stuff here. Below is the current status of the critical features that you should activate on your site to achieve a minimum level of recommended security. So my admin username is not admin, so I've already got that selected. If you haven't, then click on it and it will take you to the screen where you can change that, but I'll show you that in a little bit. Login lockdown, that stops people from logging in using various methods, and we've got some security measures here. So all I did there was click on that login lockdown switch, and we're taken over to this screen where we've got 5 different tabs, and we're on the login lockdown here. Enable login lockdown feature, we want to check that. Allow unlock requests. Well, I'm the only one who logs into my site, and I don't need to allow unlock requests because I'm the only one who's going to get unlocked, and I would probably just change my IP address and try and log in again if I got locked out because I forgot to change the password or something to whatever I choose here. So maximum login attempts is 3. If somebody tries to log in 3 times and fails, then they're locked out. The IP address is locked out. I'm actually going to reduce that to 2 because what normally happens when I change the settings on a site I might make the mistake the first time, but then my password manager remembers the new password and username, and I don't do it again. So it's only something that happens the first time. So I'm going to set that to 2. Login retry time period. This is the length of time during which these 2 failed attempts can take place. So at the moment it's set at 5 minutes. If somebody tries within 5 minutes and gets it wrong twice, then they get locked out. This is the length of time they're going to get locked out for, 60 minutes. You can leave all of this as the default settings if you like. I'm not going to check this. It's just to display a generic error message if they get locked out. Instantly lock out invalid usernames. Yes, I want to do that. I use a username that is not admin, but if anybody tries the usual usernames like admin or root or something like that, then they will instantly get locked out. So that's a very good thing to have. Let's just save those settings. And you can see now for login, lockdown, I've now got 20 points out of 20. You can have a look at failed login records, and you can also do something called force logout. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Failed login records, there won't be anything there at the moment because we're just setting this up. So there's no IP addresses. Force logout, I'm actually not going to use this security feature, but basically what you can do is you can force WordPress to kick a user out after a certain length of time. So if they've been in there 60 minutes or more, or whatever you decide, then you can get WordPress to kick them out and they have to log back in again. Again, it's not something that I activate on my sites because I'm the only one that logs in. And then logged in users, if I clicked on that tab, you would just see me as the logged in user. If you have multiple users on your site, then this tab will show you which of those users are logged in, but I'm going to just move on to the next bit. So let's go back to the dashboard again, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You can see my meter reading now has gone from 50 up to 70, so it's becoming more secure. Basic firewall is still off, so I'm going to click on that and we're going to turn that on next. And you see here we've got 0 out of 15 for the basic firewall settings. One of the things I really like about this plugin is that it gives you lots of help. So it actually will tell you the threats and how it's minimized using the various protection methods here. So basic firewall, I want to enable basic firewall, WordPress pingback vulnerability protection. If you are not using WordPress's XML RPC, then you can check that. I actually use Windows Live Writer, which uses XML RPC, so I'm going to leave that unchecked. And block access to debug file, I'm going to just check that and save and continue. So I've now got an extra 15 points there, an extra 10 points here, so my security levels are being applied. Additional firewall rules. This is a problem for some web hosts. Disable index views. In other words, if somebody goes to a directory, then they can see the files that are in that directory. So just check that to stop those files from being visible. And I'm also going to disable trace and track. Proxy comment posting, we're going to disable proxy comment posting, and I'm going to disable that and enable advanced character string filter. This last one I'm not so familiar with. If you have a look at the help, it does warn you though that you're strongly advised to take a backup of your htaccess file before you apply that feature. I'm going to leave that one unchecked. Let me just check this one as well. This one again, backup of htaccess file. I'm going to just save additional firewall settings. And what I also like to do is just go over and make sure that my site doesn't get broken along the way. Okay, the site's still loading, working okay. Right, let's go on to the next list here, 5G blacklist firewall rules. And this allows you to implement more firewall rules that are designed and produced by Perishable Press. So if you want to enable that, you can enable it to find out some more information there. I'd say let's just enable that. And internet bots, we want to try to reduce the number of bots accessing our site. And the one here is fake Googlebot. If any bot is pretending to be Googlebot, we want to block it because we want Googlebot, but we don't want the bots that pretend to be Googlebot because it just eats up our bandwidth. Prevent hot links. This is a good feature because it stops other people from linking to your images using your URLs. if they do that on their site and they add an image to their page, but they're just directly linking to the, or grabbing the image from your server, then they're using bandwidth every time their page is displayed to a visitor. So we're going to enable prevent image hot linking. 404 detection, this is another good one, because one of the ways that hackers try to get into your site is by checking for various pages and things that don't exist, and they're sent to a 404. So we want to have a look and enable 404 IP detection and lockout. In other words, if people are going around looking or pulling up 404 pages left, right and center, then their IP is going to be locked out. Let's just save that. Okay, we also have custom rules here. I'm not going to do anything with that. I'm just going to leave that as it is. So let's go back to the dashboard. And also I'm going to just flip over to my site, just give it another little check. Okay, it's all working. We're now up to 175 and we've got all these checked. Maintenance mode is off. That's just the mode that it goes into when you're doing updates on your site. No IPs locked out. No other users currently logged in. Right, let's start going through these settings. We're going to go to settings first, and what we've got here is some other settings that you might want to have a look at. Another nice feature of this plugin is it does give you ways to back up your database, back up the htaccess file, and back up the wp-config file, and that's down in dashboard settings. If I just show you one of these, back up your database, this is something you should do before you proceed with this particular change up here, db prefix, but we'll come back to that in a second. Let's just go back to the settings for a second. Backup htaccess file, that will take you to this tab, I believe, where you've got your htaccess file and you can make a copy of it. Your wp-config file as well, it'll be listed down on this page. You can take a backup of that. WP meta info. And what you can do here is you can remove the meta information that WordPress adds to pages. Again, it's another way that gives hackers more information about your site, and it's not really essential, so we can just disable that. Import, export. This isn't something I'm going to do anything with at the moment. What it allows you to do, though, is it allows you to export or save your settings for the security plugin. You save it, download the file, and then you can copy and paste it into another site if you want to, or just keep it as a backup for your site in case anything happens. But this just allows you to import or export the settings for the plugin, so that's very useful as well. Right, let's go over to user accounts, and we've got 3 different tabs here: username, display name, and password. Now I've already changed my admin login username here, so I don't actually have to do anything. It says down here that change admin username. I've already done it, so I've already got those 15 points. Let's have a look at display name. Okay, modify account with identical login name and display name. My admin name is different, so I've already got the 5 points here. Again, if you haven't done this already, just follow the instructions and enable it. And then password, I'm quite happy with my password, but this screen does give you a password tool that will allow you to try out different passwords, and then it will tell you down here how secure the password is. Okay, so then you could use that password. I'm not going to use that one, but that's just a password tool to help you out. So that's the user accounts. Let's go to user login. And this screen we saw earlier, it's the login lockdown. We've already set settings for it, and we've got failed login records, force logout, and those are the things that we saw. Let's have a quick look at failed login and see if anybody's failed. No, not yet. Okay. So let's keep going through this. Let's have a look at user registration. Now, I don't have users on my site. I don't allow people to register. If you do, then you might want to check this and have manual approval of all registrations on your site. I don't need it. And also, again, registration capture. You can enable that, so there's a capture form on the registration page. Right, database security. This is a big one, and what I suggest you do is you back up your database first before you do this. Okay, and you can also schedule automated backups and create database backup now. Okay, so you can do a backup, then go back to the DB prefix, and I've already got a different prefix here. I've got GBS, but the default by WordPress is WP, and if you haven't changed it from the default, then that's a bad thing, because that gives hackers one more bit of information again. What I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to change it anyway. I'm going to say, right, generate new DB table. Got my backup first. Generate new DB table prefix. Let's change the prefix, and then what this does is it changes it in all of the tables, and it uses 4 characters. So I'll scroll down here and show you this because I'll change it again. But starting DB prefix change, WordPress system has a total of 41 tables. Your new DB prefix is this. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5. It's actually 5 characters and then an underscore. Copy of your WP config was created, 41 tables updated. Everything here, you've got the checks, and everything's worked fine. I'm going to just change it again because you've seen that now and I don't want that, or I don't want the real prefix to be shown. But once you've changed it, go over to your site and do a refresh just to make sure that the tables are still connected properly to your WordPress, and mine are. So that's the database security that we've just implemented. Let's move on to the next bit, and it's this file system security. What you'll have is a table, and I've got basic 20 out of 20 protection. What you'll have is a table here, and some of the items in the table may have a button in this column, recommended action. My site is fine, it says no action required, but if there is a problem with something, this button here will say make recommended changes or something. Just click it and then the permissions will be written correctly, and these are the permissions that are being used for the various areas of the site. Okay, so that's file system security. Let's go over to Whois.Lookup. This is just a tool. If somebody is trying to hack into your site, you can use this tool to find out who the IP address belongs to. Let's go down again, Blacklist Manager. This is where you can blacklist IP addresses, because you do have the tools here for monitoring the IP addresses of people who are trying to break into your site. Ban users. Okay, enable IP or user agent blacklisting. I haven't got any IPs to address yet, to insert yet, or user agents, but I'm going to just save that, and then if I end up having problems, in fact it won't let me save it. Okay, so you do need to put in IPs. If and when you get an IP that's causing you constant problems, then just check that, enter it in there. Or if it's a user agent, enter the name of the user agent, and there's details down here on how to do that. Okay, let's go over to firewall, and this is something, again, we've already seen. We've already been through these. You'll remember at the very beginning with additional firewall rules and all of this stuff here. So we've already done that. Brute force. This is where computer code tries to hack into your site using random login details, and they can try a lot of different usernames and passwords. So brute force is a way that people or hackers hack into your site. You can rename the login page by checking this and then entering it in there. I'm not going to, because I'm going to use something else which is, in my opinion, better than this, and I'll show you that as we get to it. Cookie-based brute force prevention. Okay, this is the method of protecting that I recommend you use. We're going to enable brute force attack prevention, and then you need to enter in a secret word here, and that secret word is going to create a URL for you that you can use to log into your site. And basically when you go to that URL, a cookie is written to your site, and you're only allowed to log into your site if that cookie is on your computer. First thing you need to do is just check to make sure that your site is okay with this. So we perform a cookie test. Okay, and scroll down just to see what's happened. The cookie test was successful. You can now enable this feature. Okay, so we're going to enable it, and I'm going to just show you this just briefly. Let's say I wouldn't use test as a secret word, but let's just use it for this example. Now, my site has posts or pages which are password protected. If you have password protected pages, you need to check that. I don't, so I'm going to leave it unchecked. But my site does use Ajax. That's in the WP admin folder. I have plugins that use Ajax, so I'm going to check that and then save. Okay, now what's happened here is the plugin has given us a URL to log into. Okay, if I just click go to, and whenever you log into your dashboard, you have to go through this URL. You'll see it just flipped there into the WP admin folder. The reason you have to access your site now through this URL is that URL there is writing a cookie to your computer, and then if that cookie is present on your computer, it will allow you to log in. Now, because you've just visited that URL, the cookie will be present, which is why you did the cookie test. If you're a hacker and you're going just directly to wplogin.php, then you don't have the cookie on your computer. So even if you had the correct username and password, you're still not going to get in. I'm going to change my secret word here, and I'll move on to the next item after I've done that, which is the login captcha. So let me just change my secret word. And here we are back now. I've got login captcha selected, and we're going to enable a captcha on the login form. Just again, another layer of security. If you have some custom login form, you can enable the captcha on that as well. Lost password form captcha, I'm going to enable captchas on everything. Okay, and now we have full protection there. Login whitelist, my IP address is dynamic, it changes between times I'm using my computer, so a login whitelist is not really that suitable for me. This is my current IP address, but I use a different Wi-Fi as well as this one, and also this one seems to change quite regularly with my host, so I'm not going to enable whitelist. If you're on a static IP that doesn't change, then you can enable the IP address there. Honeypot, this is another thing that I'll activate. Enable Honeypot on the login page, and essentially what this does is it just adds an extra field to the login page, and robots like to fill in all the fields. So if a field is filled in that's not visible to humans, then obviously it knows that it's a bot and it will lock them out. Okay, spam prevention. Now this is part of the plugin that also has similar features to the stop spammers, but as I said, I use stop spammers as well and I haven't had any problems, so I'm going to leave stop spammers and I'm going to just enable the protection with this plugin as well. So we're going to enable a captcha on comment forms and block spam bots from posting comments. So I'm going to click Save Settings. And content spam IP monitoring. And this just basically allows you to monitor the IPs of spammers who are leaving comments on your site, and you can put in a minimum number of spam comments per IP to see if a particular spammer, I mean, I haven't got any in my list here, but I could say, right, 5, and then that would show me a list of all spammers who've left 5 or more spam comments. And by using this, you can quickly find out who or which IP address is causing you the most problems, and then you can go and block those IP addresses with the blacklist. BuddyPress isn't something I use. Okay, it's not active on my site, so let's leave that one. Now the scanner allows the plugin to scan for file changes, and you can do a manual file change detection scan, so you can perform the scan now. What happens then is the results of that are saved and then used to compare in the future. So the scanner can be set up to check at intervals, so we can check this if you want to. I'm going to leave it off because I haven't enabled it on my other sites and I'm not sure how it impacts my server, so I'm going to just leave it off for now. But you could have enable scans and then set it, let's say, every 4 weeks. And what would happen is then the files would be scanned again every 4 weeks to make sure they haven't been changed by somebody who's managed to hack their way in. I'm going to disable that. So you can enable that if you want to. Start off with perform a scan and then enable this. Malware scan detection. This actually isn't any functionality in this particular plugin, but it's offering a service which will do scanning from an external site, and this can be useful. Let's just open that up and see what the price is. I don't use it, but if you want to and you need to, you can have a look at that. Let's just have a look, see if I can see a price on there. Okay, so price option $6.95 a month. That's one website, and you've got some other options there as well. I'm not going to look at this now because it's not something that I run. If you want the extra security, you can, and then that site will scan your site for you. DBScan, and as you can see, this feature has been temporarily deactivated because of false positives, so check back in the future and see if that has been fixed. Maintenance, whenever you do work on your site, you can have a message show up. So if you're updating themes, or you're updating WordPress, or you're updating plugins, then you can have a custom message there. WordPress will already put a message up there, something about site maintenance or something, but you can make it a little bit more user-friendly if you want to with that tab. And then finally, the miscellaneous tab here. And we've got enable copy protection. And what this does is it stops people from right-clicking or selecting text and right-clicking. I've actually got this WP Copy Protect that does the same, but there's no point having two plugins that does the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and delete the WP Copy Protect, and I'll just use this feature in this particular plugin. And finally, on the Frames tab, you can prevent people from putting your site inside a frame or an iframe. And that's a technique that's used by people who want free content on the site. They can put your content inside their iframe and just serve up your content and populate their own sites. And there are probably some malicious ways in which they can use that as well. So I'm going to check that and save the settings. Okay, so that is all of the settings. Let's go back to the dashboard and see where we are. Okay, we're up to 290 out of 470. You can see all of the different colors here represent different levels of security protection. And so this site now is pretty well locked down. What I would do next is I'm going to go back to my site and just refresh it. Okay, and also what I want to do is I want to log out and log back in again just to make sure that I can actually get into my site. And remember that you have to go through the special URL. I've already gone into that special URL, so the cookie is on my machine, and I'm going to log in here. You can see my username, password, and we've got the captcha here, 3 times 5, 15. Let's log in and just make sure we can log in properly, and we can. So that's the site now protected with the all-in-one security plugin.